Detroit, Detroit is different. Detroit, Detroit is different. Culture and life we live in. Detroit, Detroit is different. Detroit, Detroit is different. Detroit, Detroit is different. Culture and life we live in. Detroit, Detroit is different.
Welcome back to the Detroit is Different podcast studios. And I have in studio somebody that also has been doing a lot of different things when it comes to doing work inside community where family is really grounded, and offering so much more in what we look at as healing and being a source of what is really grounded here, but expanding and really touching a lot of people where things go. So the Hitha Healing House is how you would connect with it. And if you've been connected, you've definitely seen a community that really intersects many different spaces and places, but touching everything else. So Kayana Sessoms, how are you today?
I am doing well. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. This has been talked about before. And I'm glad that this is coming to fruition now of what you're doing. I kind of crossed paths, as you reminded me, through like some of the neighborhood work that we were doing, like in the similarity of having project program work inside community that carries on and continues, and just being and connecting there, the library that you had, and the different things that you were offering in that community that I look at as like that intersection of like, we're looking at like HP, Detroit, a little bit of the world, like that neighborhood is definitely one of those places where Detroit is different.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So with that, we always start these journeys with that grounding and that connection of family coming to the city of Detroit. And with that, what's generations? How many generations are you and your family to the city?
We would be 3 generations. So my dad came into the city with his family back in 1960s.
Okay.
Around that time, from Arkansas.
Mm.
So, and my mom was already here. And, they fell in love. And that's what got me here.
Okay.
Born not too far from here, Sinai Grace, where I've had my daughter there. And I've extended my generation of having my son and my daughter in Detroit, and I am here. So we just continue to build out generations in the city.
Okay. And your mom was already here. Whereabouts did your mom come from, the roots of their family?
So my family is from Mississippi.
Okay.
Meridian, Mississippi is where we originated from. And then they came up here through means of my grandmother. She was an educator. She went to all the universities and then found herself at DPSCD as a school counselor into her last days.
Okay. All right. So shout out to Grandma for connecting with the little ones. But the SIP and Arkansas, those are both the western states that we're so used to. A lot of the Arkansas and Mississippi, more west, like Chicago, sometimes even California, Texas, like that. I'm guessing you probably have family out west because a lot of the migration patterns would go that way. What was it Grandma came here for the work, your dad's family, what was it that brought them this way?
So originally the automotive industry brought my dad here.
Okay.
At a young age, just a new opportunity to make money. And then he was a very creative thinker and found his own way and means to make a life for himself. And we'll leave it at that.
I got you. Picking up the pieces. So as that carries on, this tradition, what side of town, what neighborhoods would you say, like when you think of your childhood, really grounds you as like, That's where we was at.
That's where we grew up. Yeah. So 8 Mile, St. Mary's, that was home.
Okay.
And so when my mom and dad split up, I was part-time Detroit, part-time Southfield.
Mhm.
So kind of like stepchild to the city in a sense. But
Mhm.
um, I wish we still had that house
Mhm.
because the memories are so thick in between growing up there.
Share a little bit of what the community, what you remember about the community as a child, what stood out.
Just the neighborhood was beautiful. And I remember I had a best girlfriend across the street. I believe her family was either from the Middle East because they just, would cook a lot of different dishes. She was the youngest girl on the block my age.
Mm.
So I spent a lot of time across the street back and forth.
Mhm.
And it was more of like a older community. It wasn't necessarily a lot of children in our block, but my dad made sure that we kept ourselves occupied. So I just remember at a young age, those white rocks that people will do their landscaping with.
Yeah, yeah.
As a young child, I thought they were magical, and so
Hilarious.
I would collect them, bring them inside. Um, I felt like our house was a museum. I was always taking the old school crystal, like, lamps that hang with the little design like, small crystals and
Mhm.
taking them to make designs and earrings, and my girlfriend across the street, we would tear up stuff that is of value now that I realize we were destroying nice things. But yeah, we found ways to have a good time, so
Okay, so that creative energy in like arts and crafts, was that something that you always were taken to, or was it something that was like, your dad's like, yeah, let's do some stuff.
definitely something that I was brought here with. My dad was not a creative person. My dad is officially a gangster. Like, he I was able to bring the love out of him, but he was never one to get into the arts for real.
Okay.
Um, however, yeah, I was brought here with a creative just lens in my body that I'm grateful for. I don't know. My mom was a photographer. She did some photography, but no one no one else in my family really has that or
Mhm.
inclination to create like I do.
At that time, so you were like, as I call it, like a JoAnn Fabrics kid.
Absolutely.
Okay, there we go.
Absolutely.
So like you were making things and it's been arcs. Shout out to man, I'm forgetting her name, but a lot of the crafts at that age, like making clothes and different things like that, usually lead to that same life path of like creating things as you continue.
Mhm.
So in this like I guess turning everything into a museum as a child, what was like the driving force? What were you looking to, or like kind of getting that spirit? What were you watching to be like, okay, I can try this, I can try that? What was that connection to be like, let's make this a little bit different?
As a child,
Hmm.
I think it was just exploring the different uses and like mechanisms of things, right? Like uh and how they worked or how they could be destroyed to create something else. Um and so I think for me it was just the exploratory sense of like, this rock, like how, is it shiny and glycery inside? I wanna see, let's break it and see if it's like that inside. So, just that, exploratory and imaginative, inquisitive mind that, I'm so grateful that I had as a child.
Okay. All right. So as that carries on, I know you said that in the split you're in different spaces and places, also seeing like new things. You said like the city and Southfield. What's happening in school at the time? What are your passions? What are you thinking at that moment as you're growing up of the path that you're gonna lead?
Oh, goodness. So I grew up very Christian. So my mom and dad and grandmother,
Mm,
who was the matriarch of the house, had us at Southfield Christian for quite some time. And so being in that space, I was also very much so developing my leadership, I guess you could say, uh, in an institution. So I I remember, like, winning I don't know, well, I don't like to say winning awards, but, like, creating things that received awards at a young age, or became, like, the covers of our directory from things that I would draw.
mm,
Um, and so, um, yeah, the creative essence of just wanting to design or get what's in my head out on pen and paper has always been there.
okay, and I definitely have a question in this space and place. For you as a child, I want you to say and share kind of like being recognized for your creativity. What impact did that have on you? And then also kind of in that same connection, what impacts do you think a child being recognized for their creativity? What impacts does that have on people? So like you specifically, and then just children in general.
Yeah, I would say I think the impact encouraged me to do more of it.
Mhm,
Um, I remember a lot of my designs or things that I can go back and look at in pictures, um, were just very much so. How do you say, layered or had texture and different elements to them. So it wasn't just like, "Oh, I'm gonna create a crown and just color," but no, I had to throw, like, feathers or different kind of, like, beads and designs onto it, and so I was very much um, into, like, layering aesthetics and things, and the more that it was recognized, the more it encouraged me to explore more on how to integrate various items into creating things,
mm,
so yeah. And then how the other question you asked was, how does that impact a child in relationship to praise?
mhm,
Um, I think positive reinforcement is key to is a key element into helping children, people connect with their gifts. Because I think a lot of times, um, we may be in our own element to just do something well, but when it's recognized, it's being acknowledged by another person and saying, "I see you." And so I think that matters when kids are being seen and acknowledged for their gifts and talents, um, at all ages, right?
mhm. Okay, so in this path, like, as you're diving deeper into the creativity and everything, does it hit you that, like, are you thinking, like, you're going to be, like, a sculptor or an abstract artist? Like, what was the thought process?
So I was never I don't think I ever explored art as a career. I think I just enjoyed creating.
Okay.
Um, and growing up, I was just I just enjoyed being a kid.
Mm,
I enjoyed, just exploring, going to parks, playing in dirt, picking up
mm,
bugs, like, I was kind of like a tomboy girl, and so, as I grew, I don't think I started to process career or pathways until, after high school,
okay.
honestly.
Okay. So let's I guess we can go there. So after high school, what's the thought process? When are you like, okay, what
Th
do I want to do?
exactly. So, um when I graduated, my mom, grandma, and I were going to counseling at this time.
Mm,
There were some things that had gone on with my dad, and so we were receiving in-home counseling, it was called, where they would come to the house and just have, like, conversation, about what was going on to help me process. And the counselor, Sharon, at the time, just acknowledged my ability to compartmentalize and just being able to process things at a young age. And she recommended that I become a peer mentor for the agency that she worked for at the time. And this,
That's
I was
interesting.
16.
Okay.
And so I filled out the application and applied, and I became a peer mentor for a very well known organization in Oakland County that would work with families throughout Metro Detroit and doing in-home counseling where they would go to the homes of families. I would be paired with the children to work and just kind of like listen and use art therapy
Mm.
to process some of the things that they were going through. And I really developed a skill and a passion for just being able to hold space for people um, when they really needed it.
Mm. Okay. So this is a lot that I would think that definitely that role, it's almost like you're in a role of like a social worker and a counselor working with, I'm assuming, counselors and social workers that are definitely present at times of family in a situation where we're looking for um, that space as you shared, and you being a person that I guess walked through this process. Sharon saw a um, a skill, a talent, and the empathy in you to be present with that. And this is kind of similar to that same accolade of the artistry too. How are you even processing that at like 16? That like someone that's offering the counseling to you now says, okay, I think your talent and your skill and the empathy that you have is something that could be applied to help others. Um, how are you even responding to that at like 16, you know?
I think it was something that was really exciting to me at that time, um, because what I recognized, I came from, my mom was a counselor, my grandmother was a counselor, so I come from a background of counselors. Family meetings on Fridays was a regular, right? So I knew the value of people holding space for you in the time of just challenge. And so being able to contribute to that in a way that I could um felt good. Felt really good.
Mm. Okay. All right. So you see this and see that road is fulfilled. So you're there at 16. So I'm guessing this is kind of like a precursor into after high school too, what you're interested in, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. What was your thought process going in? Because in my mind, I'm like, you kind of you were you went like you jumped in the deep end, started swimming already. You know what I'm saying? And now going back to college is like, or classes in this, you kind of probably going back to like treading in water or something. Like, what was that like?
It's a great question. So I s- went to school the entire time I was working full time for the
Mm,
organization.
mhm,
Um, and it was interesting because I felt more value at getting the experience of, um, you know, firsthand experience with families and working in the field with um, the clinicians than I did in the classroom because we're learning about a book or a story, and little Johnny, needs to go here.
mhm,
So I was living it real life, and I was being able to support a team to intervene for some serious, serious situations and scenarios for families. So um, it drove I ended up getting my liberal arts degree, and my bachelor's in sociology, so I went to, OCC. I got my, like, associates, starting off, and then I transferred to Oakland, and I got my bachelor's in sociology, and all the while I'm working full time. So
This is like running concurrent, and I can definitely say like the circumstances. My grandmother, like this is her room. My grandmother was a social worker for Catholic, but more so Presbyterian churches. I think the arc of a lot of the role of social workers has shifted in different ways. What happens with school, what happens in community, even to, the archives. I mean, when I'm interviewing many social workers, I think I've shared this before, like when I was interviewing Rocky, the, in this neighborhood, it's been a lot of things I've seen just in life in general. But the most memorable tragic moment that I think of in my life was when a neighbor across the street, a mother has 3 of her children taken away from her. Like even to this day, I still can remember the way the yell sounded as I'm looking at the 2 social workers and the sheriffs that are there, and I'm looking at her breakdown. I'm looking at the man in the house. He was a father to one of the children, and it's just like I'm like I don't know, like what it takes to live in a reality where this could possibly be something that could come up even like once or twice a year, let alone possibly like once or twice a month or once or twice a week. This is heavy, you know?
Mhm.
So I- in that balance and you're learning, but you're in this space, I'm guessing, like as you're seeing what's happening, how do you, similar to like a police officer or a soldier or like an ambulance worker, like how do you begin to still keep a balance of your own spiritual and emotional presence of mind as you are, looking at sometimes people sometimes their most vulnerable, and, dire situations.
So it's a great question. I think that many are unaware of how serious that question is. So for me, I remember the moment when I felt that. I had just left a woman's house who I was working with their daughters, and she was an extreme hoarder.
Mm,
You couldn't see anything in the house,
mm,
barely sit down. And I remember after leaving that house feeling so overwhelmed, and my energy was just very, um, like anxious a little bit, and I felt heavy in understanding just the dynamics of the household. So I remember having a conversation with a counselor at that time, and I said, how do I keep myself protected or safe from feeling these feelings that I'm feeling that feel so overwhelming for me at that time? And the advice that she shared, I still keep it with me till this day. She said it's important to ground yourself. She also recommended wearing copper when I enter into spaces to keep energy from absorbing into my aura that may feel, um, not good or something that may be overwhelming for me. She gave me a couple other tips in relationship to when that does happen. Um, as immediately as I get home, s- taking off my clothes at the door and going to wash myself and rinse myself. So it started to instill these really simple but important rituals in protecting myself and caring for myself when being in those environments. Because when you're walking into other people's thresholds, they can be heavy and they're warranted with energy of things that you may not be familiar with or you've never felt before. And so as a teenager, as a young adult, I'm having these experiences and exposed to these things for the first time. Um, and it was heavy because for me, I have such an open heart space. I'm just trying to how can we protect these kids? How can we get them to a safe, healthy space? And then when you put dynamics on top of, environment or, parental challenges or other things that are going on that are out of my control, um, it really comes back to how I can protect myself and my energy stepping into these spaces, and how do I take care of myself when I leave these places as well. So,
Okay. And in this space, you spoke on that threshold. And I'm sure everyone has a different barometer or anything, but for a person watching that may feel like this can be some of the toughest things can be just even discussions with family, as it's unique. Like sometimes people, may spend a whole lifetime of this with others, but then when it comes to the people closest to them, now it's heaviest for them. How do you know, what would you suggest, like, a person being aware of approaching that threshold? What should they be more conscious of or connected to?
so when a person's approaching the threshold of feeling like discomfort, is that what we're saying? I can only share what has worked for me in the past.
Mhm.
Um, I think always sitting with yourself in silence to understanding what and why. A lot of times there's so much noise around us all the time that we can't really hear our internal gut or voice. Um, some of us will refer to it as our spirit, our guide, and really allowing for that to help us navigate to understand. Because I think once you have an understanding or understanding, as we say, um, you can use that as your navigation. But a lot of us are so clouded and polluted with the outside world or the noise that's going on constant, right? Because life is real and comes with its own frequency and volume. And so my best advice is just to, find a quiet place, turn down that volume, and really sit with yourself with what it is that you're trying to understand, um, and just listen. Another tool is, writing. I became I've been a writer since I was young. I have my journals from, I think, kindergarten, and so I think writing is a great tool to really pulling out your deepest and, just, like, clearest truth of what you need to hear. So just finding a way or a modality to get the answers that you need, because I firmly believe we have them all within us.
Okay. All right. So, as you develop many of these methods of navigating these spaces and then still present with healing people, clearly, like even from the beginning, you move into a continued space in that. Where does the journey go after college, as far as where do you feel best to be present of healing?
Gosh, so I navigated through that, organization from peer counselor to, um, homeless youth housing services to graduated apartment program manager, where I was helping young, moms, young teenagers, um, receive housing and, managing that program. So, we're like mid-20s now and, 9 years in,
Mm.
and, um, ended up taking a transition into, what did I do? I think I moved to Atlanta for, like, a summer,
Okay.
because my family ended up moving. My grandmother fell sick
Mm.
and ill, and, my mom ended up moving down to Mississippi, then Atlanta,
Okay.
to care for her. So, I decided to go down there at that time to spend some time and just kind of figure out life a little bit.
Okay. What what era Atlanta we talking? We're talking like regular 2000s, 2010s, late 90s. What era?
Early 2000s.
Early 2000s. Okay. So you're there at a very a still like very active Atlanta feel and vibe of a lot of things that I think about like early 2000s
Like
Atlanta.
2009.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
that's still
So
early.
like it's yeah, but
But it's
now
not too
that's
early.
like it's like you got like that's past like Michael Vick, that's more like Young Jeezy,
Mhm.
Atlanta and things
Yeah,
like
that was
that.
really
Okay. So like a culture of really what we talk about like black um what's the right term here? Because I don't want to say like I love Atlanta, but like you get like a like this a lot of people from other places are still also coming there in that time.
Mhm.
Um and you're there kind of for family, but what was the vibe like for you even in that space?
Directed right back to healing. So at that time, so let me preface, my mom and my grandmother have had an extensive, just holistic background and raised us away in um, health conscious. I'll say that.
Okay.
So, and what does that mean, right? What's health conscious? In the 80s, because I'm an 80s baby, my mom was making flaxseed milk.
Okay.
She was taking me to the chiropractor,
Okay.
made all my baby food, right?
All
So
right.
she was
So
very conscious of like health, wellness, and just,
mhm,
what we put in our bodies.
mhm.
And so in Atlanta, I was connected to a holistic practitioner and started to study under him
Okay.
at his center. And I apprenticed with him for 6 months,
Mm,
and I was able to get attuned as a Reiki master. And I learned a lot about mind management and the power of our minds,
mhm,
and how our thoughts can impact our cells, our organs, our our environment.
mhm.
So, that was what I was doing at that time.
Okay, I want you to expand a little bit on mind management and and share a little bit about what was it there that drew you in to dive deeper into that.
Into the mind management courses. Uh, it was something that, Dr. Mark Armstrong, which is his name, shout out to him, uh, he teaches a course around mind management and just really being able to master your thoughts and how there are different channels that tie into different chakras, different organisms in relationship to your body and your cells as well, and how that creates an impact to not only your body and uh, your system. When I say system, like your nervous system and your organs, but it also impacts what your future and projected, um, you know, uh, outcomes of your next life looks like. So, minding and taking back your mind is something that I reference a lot with my moms and families that I work with, because a lot of the thoughts that we think about and things that we have within our um, brain waves aren't even ours.
Mm,
They've been adopted through different environments that we may be in or songs that we may sing, but they're not anything that we own. They're not something that we um, have created and know that is serving for our best interest. So bringing attention to um, just your mind and minding your thoughts, bringing more awareness to your thoughts, and if though what is not yours to dismiss, we call it cancel, auto delete. It's our mind is a program. And so being very intentional about those things that you don't want to be downloaded into your mind, how do you release and get rid of those things? A lot of people's programs are on a I don't want to say default, but like on a heavy program, right? Like the negatives uh input that they're taking in, and it's creating a whole different way on how they're faced with their daily life. So uh, just encouraging people, if you are wanting to change that um, thought process, or you want to change your hard drive, start minding and paying attention to your thoughts. And if something is there that you don't want there anymore, bring attention to delete it, and replace it with something that you do want. So it's a really high conscious way of taking control back of your mind, which I'm aware that there has been a lot of, I'll say, intention on taking people's minds and thoughts into other directions that aren't necessarily positive.
Yeah, definitely. I love what you offered in perspective of that. I think that um, this is like in that human anthropology, kind of like sociology, but like neuro-linguistic programming is uh, like these. All right, it sounds weird that it's like, okay, we have government agencies, Western government agencies have been studying this stuff for years, but like incepting ideas, similar to, I mean, that movie Inception itself. So like back to what you speak about manifesting, and similar to like The Secret and things like this, like I taking ownership of your own thoughts. And I used to struggle with it, like with meditation, because I was thinking like your mind was blank, but it's like my mind's never blank. But as the thought process and I'm centering towards meditation, which I ground myself around like a color first, but that's what I do. You do what you do. And that helps me like center whatever is like going, where I move forward, and then I move in spaces and places where I've been, and then it's like more comes. But yeah, it's a lot of things in our mind. Some of it clearly, within commercials and things like that. I mean, playing music backwards, and it's like, oh, buy more CDs or whatever. But and then sometimes it can just be like a lot more explicit than what we were thinking. I mean, how many times have you heard a song and it's like, this is horrible, but
it's still playing.
next week it's like, you know what, the song ain't that bad. You
Mhm.
know what I'm saying? Because it's kind of been incepted into what that is. So like when I think of just that concept, as you say, like minding our mind, especially my arc of a lot of this with marketing and like kind of looking at creating messages that people kind of connect with, it's always interesting. Because as much as humans, it's a lot of programming, humans are X factors like ever, because people respond to things in some very interesting ways. And sometimes because you accept something doesn't mean that this will happen. It can have a whole lot of other outcomes.
Yep. Ripple effects.
Yep. Very, very, very much so. I've been having this discussion with my dad for the longest about Christianity, that I think I think the black church, for a lot of black folks, it's the camaraderie, and it's the place of where you can have that, where the thought process is you'll be welcome, and it's groups of people, and the song, the food, the everything else. But inside that, it's other messages based on like how it's interpreted. And I know you guys that have ever been to a church, if you hear one pastor give this version of this sermon and that version of the sermon, and they're both realities, but it can have completely different understandings of whatever it is.
Mm, absolutely.
Yep. So within that, so you're now you've always been kind of like exposed, I guess, to like and it's so weird because it's like natural healing, which even that it's like, why the hell wouldn't you want natural healing? But like natural pathways, we're looking at, I usually uplift it as like more Eastern forms of healing than Western forms of healing, which obviously Western means that it's more packaged and commercialized, and also like validated through like some academician counsel and everything like that. You've been exposed to this most of your life. As you go through these classes from Mark Armstrong, how do you begin, or were you always like including some of the other methods into your work in the healing practice, or was it one of those things that one day you're just like, nah, we're gonna implement some of this too?
I feel like it was just a journey that I was on and kind of like picking up tools to build my toolkit. And
Okay.
I didn't even realize what the destination was. I
Mhm.
was just absorbing. Um, and the common denominator has always been um, wanting to support people on their own journey of their healing.
I got
So,
you.
I know I believe in my own belief system is that, I can provide a pathway for folks to see, but I can't make them walk.
Hmm.
And so I can show them the tools that they can cultivate for themselves, but they have to take those steps. So I was really just working the pathway on myself. I continue to use that model because I believe that we are, until we're taken to the next realm, we're always on a pathway of a journey of healing and evolving ourselves. And so that's just what it was and is.
I definitely have to ask, embracing that thought process, I think is a very um um a balanced way, in a way so that you remain healed to get to that point, of feeling as though like I can give the tools, but it's up to them to move there. Oftentimes back to like, I think a lot of this does deal with like Western thinking, like as if like everything has a destination and an outcome. Like if I'm doing this, it's to get better, and that's actually why like sometimes, you know, always counseling itself is like something that it's like, for me at least, because like, I'm given this form of like, what are you going through? What do you want to be? And it's like, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like some of this is like, let's let's connect, and then let's kind of explore before I just say like, I want a new job, or what I'm saying, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Um, when do you get to that point where you are where that really crystallizes for you that like, I have to, like, this is where I have to sit, because especially I think in a lot of the work you do, it can be very tough. Vulnerable moment here with me, like my the toughest thing in a lot of ways, I have an aunt that right now has dementia, but she was a social worker and counselor for people with Alzheimer's and dementia. My grandmother had Alzheimer's as well, and it's very tough because she's not like accepting her diagnosis. So like going to a neurologist appointment after neurologist appointment and just navigating a lot of these spaces, it's like you was doing this for like your whole, like in my mind, you know what I'm saying? But I know sometimes like it's hard to get to like, it just is what it is until she wants it not to be what it is. When did it crystallize for you that this is,
This is the path.
yeah,
I feel like it's still crystallizing.
I got you.
Um, but I'll say this, when it really hit me, it was that 2008. I went through this, I don't know what happened, but I there was a lot going on in Africa at the time, um, specifically in Sierra Leone, and something was awakening me to get to the continent.
Wow.
Um, and I couldn't understand it. I was very emotional about it. I felt all the injustices of, you know, the taking of their resources and how, they are misrepresented and ways to the Western world. Um, so my girlfriend and I ended up going over to Sierra Leone to an orphanage, and we put together a therapeutic art program actually
Interesting.
to help victims, the children victims of the Civil War who were abandoned, and worked to train the teachers there on how to do art therapy.
Wow.
And then we worked with like a village of children on top of that. So I say all that to say that trip awakened something in me that was dormant in a sense that really, really weighed heavy on my heart. There was a young baby, Christian, who while we were there, he was well. But when we left, he ended up passing. He got really sick and wasn't able to get the medical attention he needed. And so, when I got the word when we came back to the States, internet, like, it just triggered something in me in relationship to access and resources of basic needs. And I feel healing modalities of a holistic Eastern practices should be basic needs, because they're of the earth.
Yeah.
Like, um, and so it started to, what do you say, alchemize this desire of, making more space for providing access, for community. And it also gave me a passion for doing international work. So as soon as I got back, I started looking, researching how, intersecting, like, youth, uh, abroad, all of these different, like, keywords back then into Google, and so I stumbled upon an organization, called Build On, and they do service learning with teens in high school and travel abroad to build schools in other developing countries. And, they provide, just different means of resources. And that really resonated with me at the time after I got back from Sierra Leone. So I applied for every single job that they had. They actually had a region in Detroit too. And so applied for every single job in California, here, wherever. And I didn't get it immediately, but I did get it a year later. So they had me stationed at Osborne High School,
Mm.
and that started my journey, that I would say just transformed my life in ways that they're are almost undescribable.
Mm.
Working in the schools now we're in 2014. No, 2012. Um, just crazy. It's crazy. Working at Osborne at that time for this organization and doing and creating space. A lot of I had the ability to create programming, after school programming, but I had my own classroom. And, therapeutic art was about probably 50% of the program in which we brought into the school. Um, the murals and things that we did are still standing in the school. But, I had the opportunity to support young people in learning more about their bodies, different foods, access to other modalities outside of, um, Advil, like peppermint oil, or just being able to breathe, getting more familiar with their bodies and movement, and, having that opportunity to share and hold space with them and the things they taught me, um, I'm forever grateful. So that experience really was, foundational to, me growing and expanding in the city, um, and really seeing, um, Actually, it just sparked my mission while I worked in the school, because people would always come to me for resources, like they needed a turkey, or if they needed a backpack, or if they needed, to get a phone bill paid. I became like the resource, plug at the
Wow.
school, and so I remember telling one of the teachers at the time. I just said, I really desire to create a space for being able to provide these resources or support to community, because the school is not always the most conducive space to do so.
Hmm.
Um, there was a lot going on at the time.
Hmm.
So the seeds were planted back then. And I'm reminded of that because she's still around and she works very closely with me. Shout out to Danielle. Um, and so, yeah, the the culminating of, from as a child, my creativity, my curiosity, and just like commitment to creating, beautiful spaces for people, with people, translated into, the classroom that I had where, um, the I just remember there was there were like some kids shooting outside, so they put the school on lockdown, and all the kids came to our classroom. I think we had like 30, 40 kids, and I'm like, "Yo, what's going?" They're like, "We feel safe here."
Mm.
So creating safe spaces has always been, not always, has really been an important piece to me, and it was most evident from that particular scenario, how important it is to have those spaces for people.
That's deep. And also the through line of that creativity, staying connected, from you as a child, like moving through. So in a lot of ways, sharing, um, s- provided a platform to something that you've exercised a lifetime. So now I guess, hit the house, the healing there. What are you leading now? How do you connect with who you work with? What's the process? Where do people connect with you?
Absolutely. So Hitha Healing House was founded in 2020,
Mm.
after, many people suffered tremendous loss across the globe. And I was one of the many who suffered loss. My best friend, my superhero, my dad, transitioned on Earth Day,
Wow.
and that put me in a space of recognizing that we need healing. We need more healing spaces for people, for myself. Um, so what I learned about myself is that I traditionally would travel to be near water, to submerge in water for my own personal healing. That's how I would recover from burnout or stress. But in 2020, we weren't able to move around. They weren't really encouraging it, and we were buying into that at that time. And so that really put me into thought about, you know, what can I create here to help me feel as if I'm in Jamaica, or if I'm in another country that is providing me with the restoration that I need.
Mhm.
And so that was really a part of the foundational, just like seeds planted and creating Hitha Healing House, which Hitha in Sanskrit means all things good.
Okay.
So the intention around um, naming the healing house Hitha was ensuring that anyone who walked or entered into the space would walk away with something good added into their life, into their practice, into um, what they move forward to do on their journey. So fast forward, a lot of things happened in 2020, and I began really getting committed to creating the house, and got an opportunity in 2022 with a neighborhood hub grant to finish off the renovations of the house and to start the first programming that we had. We held a 6-week girls wellness camp. And following that program being successful, I had my son in 2022 as well.
Congratulations.
Yes, shout out to Ezra. I'm Ezra's mom. But following that birth, it was extremely traumatic. I was in a lot of pain, and I could barely walk. And so I had the means and the ability to go seek out Eastern practices, acupuncture, massage, other things that were focusing on me getting to a well state to take care of my son. But it put a very clear lens on how many other people are in pain with a child, and don't have the means to navigate knowing what other options are accessible to them or inaccessible depending on the means of what they are working with. Um, and it really opened my heart to wanting to support new moms, and being able to navigate postpartum, it's the 4th trimester after the baby comes, and restoring and being able to fall back into their bodies in a way that feels supported. So that program is called the Nurturing Roots program. That was founded and executed in 2024. And that became a really strong, driven program of Hitha Healing House. And so we were awarded a grant through SimQuick to provide families with free holistic postpartum care. So we would work to create a year program of holistic wellness that they could tap into. So we're talking massage, Reiki, nutrition, counseling, um, uh, shamanic healers, we're, lactation consultants. We're talking a wide gamut of folks that can wrap their arms around mama and baby in that 4th trimester. So that became kind of the champion program that we've been working, and just really being able to wrap our arms around moms and families. And I like to tell my moms is that, the program was created for me first because I need the healing just as much as they do.
Mhm.
And it's been a great catalyst in helping me become more self-aware as, not only just a mom, but a human, and making sure that I'm taking care of myself so I can step up to be the best mom for my son. And so yeah, that's one of the programs that we have been operating out of the house. And so we also have a chiropractor, Aziza Knight, Dr. Z, many of you may know. She took office at Hitha House last year, I think it was September, and, has been such a dynamic partner and added addition to the space, in ways that, for those of you that don't know, that she's an amazing artist, very gifted, in the creative space as well. Um, and so she was able to come in and transform the house into a space that felt simply magical.
Hmm.
And the reflections of the murals that she created, and it just shifted everything. So we also have a wider range of partners that come and utilize the space um, in ways that very grateful to have um, at that time. So
Mm. Okay. Definitely. If a person wants to connect, if they just want to support, if they want to be present, how do they connect?
so just want to kind of uplift that on December 12th of this year, at like 5 a.m. Hitha Healing House suffered a severe fire that has temporarily closed the doors of that house.
Mm.
Um, and the devastation is one that I wouldn't wish upon anyone. Um, but I know as the phoenix rises from the ashes, we will do the same. But right now, we are just in a space of grief. That house was a reflection of so many things: sanctuary, safety, joy, birth, um, just love, like pure love. Um, and the state that it is in right now, is yeah, it's surreal, right? And so, currently we are still committing to our programs for 2026. We'll be working out of Brilliant Detroit, some of their houses that they have in the city, in the Fitzgerald, and we're looking at the central area as well. So you can connect with us to learn more about our upcoming programs, as well as if you are able to support our rebuild, which is something that is destined to occur. And we'd love for you all to participate in what that looks like in the future. Feel free to give if you can, but most importantly, share. Um, share about the work, share about what's happening, so we can rebuild and replace some of the things that are so impactful to supporting our families and moms. So the website is hithahealinghouse.org. You can check us out on Instagram to learn more about our story, how we got started, who we are, and where we're going. And you can also go to the link in our bio to our GoFundMe link if you feel inclined to donate. But most importantly, if you could share, it would mean so much in just bringing awareness to the work, the mission, because that is still very much so beating in the heart and the souls and the vessel of all of us that are committed to um, what we're doing in the maternal wellness realm, in the health and healing realm. And that's never going to stop.
So definitely, yes, that is something that I will hope that anybody that's watching, that's available, definitely support something like that. As you all are learning, just your life journey of walking this path of healing has been very connected. So as I'm always uplifting, the more constructive, uh, people, programs, and projects that are present in our community, it only is going to lead to more and more of the abundance that we would like to see in our community, because it's definitely a lot of things that are not in that path and on that lane. So I would hope that anybody watching definitely continues to support with what you have, and being present, and also with what you have and what you have being present, just fresh from what's mine. You may not necessarily have the cash, but it could be possibly something in kind if you reach out. And what could be present is you have some of those locations. This may bring about connecting in other communities, being present, but we definitely want to make sure that that continues to grow, and that this journey that you've been on with artistry, healing, and really using your life and path is something that is present here in Detroit, and adding to that difference of what's healing here.
Thank you for that. And for anyone that's listening, if you are pregnant, or seeking to become pregnant, or just want to learn more, feel free to reach out. I'm a doula, certified doula. We have a, a wide a range of practitioners that are available to you. And we will continue to uplift mom, dad, baby, community in ways that support is needed. So we're here.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you
You're
so
welcome.
much.
Thank you.
All right.
Detroit is different. Detroit